What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Surf and Sales podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And we're here today with a very special guest, lives in Austin, Texas, just like me, yet somehow to spend some time together. But we're going to be here with Andy Mewborn, who is one of the original OGs and sellers from Outreach, who also co-founded Taplio, who now is like a big-time LinkedIn celebrity, Richard. Did you know, Richard, that Andy has more LinkedIn followers than you and I combined? Did you know that?
Out of here. Really?
He does. Mostly because you suck and have not been able to keep pace with me.
This is true.
But yeah, he has more followers than us combined, so he knows what he's talking about. He's known for creating content every single day, insightful, funny, goofy sometimes. And sometimes I've even made fun of him for some of what he does. So we'll get into stuff of that stuff. Richard Harris is one of the co-founders, along with me, Scott Leese, of the Surf and Sales Summit. Got a couple tickets available for November 27th to December 1st. So check out surfandsales.com. Richard, tell everybody about our wonderful sponsors, HubSpot.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that people understand that HubSpot is not just a CRM. They do a whole bunch of stuff. They have fully diving into the AI piece, and they've got a lot of great stuff. They've got a chat spot that's conversational bot that you can use that can automate a lot of manual tasks that you do. So that's really sweet and very cool. Save us all a bunch of time. It's also got a content assistant to help us when we need to write content. So, always interested in that to help, sort of to Scott's point, I'm not quite, promoting myself as well. So maybe I need to use a little bit more HubSpot content assistant. So to find out more about them, though, please go to find out more about how to use AI to grow your business at HubSpot.com/artificial-intelligence. HubSpot.com/artificial-intelligence. So, all right, Andy, good to see you again. You are a repeat. You are a double dipper. He's been on here before, Scott. Did you remember?
Double dipping. I'm honored. Honored. Look at this.
I'm doing something. It must have been a while ago, or he must have done really well. One of those two things must have happened.
Yeah, we'll say it was a while ago. Yeah.
Well, tell everybody what you've been up to most recently and kind of reintroduce yourself to folks who might not know who you are.
Oh, man. Yeah, let's get into it. So before I get into that, have you guys had these poppy drinks yet? Oh, I'll blur it out. But these poppy, probiotic sodas yet? Okay.
No.
Oh, but mine
on your screen because you have a
Oh, shoot.
But I hadn't heard of them.
Okay, you guys, these things aren't staying, dude. You guys have to try these. They're supposedly healthy and only 20 calories. And this is not an app for the Surf and Sales podcast and shit. Maybe we should get them over that.
If anybody knows the contact episode.
Yeah. If anyone knows the healthy gut contact for coffee, let us know, please. But anyway, supposedly it's healthy. They're freaking amazing. Sipping it while I'm talking. Holy shit, this is great. Anyways. So Andy Mewborn, as you can tell, I go it's all the time, just how the brain works. But as Scott mentioned, it was early at Outreach.io, founded a company called Taplio, co-founded a company called Taplio, which was acquired by Linpire. And then most recently, I'm currently working on a new company, which is still in stealth, but coming out soon, named Distribute, which is going to be a personalized ABM platform. So we're taking personalization to the next level. So you're not only going to personalize emails now, you're going to personalize every digital asset that you send to prospects and customers. And we're going to help you use a platform or create a platform for you to do that. So, that's what we're working on now. Aside from that, it got the newsletter, Andy's newsletter, as well as Brand 30, which helps people get active on LinkedIn. So just a lot of stuff. I need help, y'all. It is so much to manage. Holy shit. I think I'm going to get a VA soon. We can't even go on thinking about doing that.
But let's talk about that. Let's talk about this virtual assistant piece for a second, because I like you have my hand in lots of different cookie jars, and I like you have resisted and avoided having a virtual assistant of any kind. And yet Richard over here has a virtual assistant, has had one for a while. They do all sorts of wonderful things for them. So what is it about our stubborn personality that won't let go of some things and get some help?
Scott, you're a cheap motherfucker. That's the problem.
That might be my thing. But I wonder what Andy's reasons are.
Honestly, I'm a cheap motherfucker as well. That is exactly it. That was one of them. The other piece was just like, someone told me recently, like, it's all about delegation. And someone I really respect was like, look, if you want to get really good at something, you got to learn to delegate. Delegate's what great leaders like to learn to do and do it well. I'm like, really? And I just started looking at similarities in a lot of my friends do a lot of cool shit. And I'm like, it's so right. Like, you got to just get good at delegation. And like, then I asked them all, and they've all said the same thing, which is, okay, but I know people are going to do as good as me on how I do my own shit, right? Like, that's what I'm worried about. It's control, I think, part of it. And what they've all kind of told me, the same thing, is you have to be happy with someone else doing 80% of what you would do, and be happy with an 80% job, not 100% job that you would do. And I said, you know what? Okay, fine. I got to get over the hump. So then I went and got a VA, like the day after, right? So that's where I'm at. And I got to give up the control there on the.
What do you have your BA do though, Andy? What do
you? So a lot of my social media stuff, right? Like, I have so much content, just because you guys know I've been doing this for years, and I want them to basically post my content for me. I'm still going to do all the replies in the comments, right? But post the content on LinkedIn. I'm moving to Twitter now. I'm doing Instagram as well. I can't do all of it. So they're going to edit some short form videos for me as well. They're going to post those on all the different networks. They're going to help me, as y'all know, this is not a secret for anyone listening. Like, to grow on LinkedIn fast, anything fast, you grow with community. So you share with friends, they like, comment, etc. We can get into that whole strategy later. But they're doing the link sharing stuff for me too with, people in my crew. So they're going to do that, send it all out to them. And then I will still allow them comment, because that's my own voice on my own post and my friends' posts. So that's what they're going to start with. The next thing, for my new SaaS, they're helping me basically create a lot of templates that I need migrated over. So templates that you can use within our product. So they're helping me basically do a lot of that, which is a lot of work.
Sounds like a lot of marketing.
A lot of marketing stuff. Yeah. They're not doing the actual strategy marketing, but the little nitty gritty stuff that a little more low leverage, right? Not the high leverage stuff. Like, I'm on sales pages, right? I'm gonna come up with the automations on the back end, and then they'll click buttons here and there. But yeah, it's more low leverage stuff that I'm like, hey, I probably should be doing other shit at this point to really like progress. So yeah.
Scott, could you imagine giving up your LinkedIn feed to let someone post on your behalf?
If I wrote the content, I would be okay with somebody hitting the publish button at such and such times of the day. Is that what you're asking? As long as I wrote the content.
Well, one thing,
I could not imagine not writing the content.
Andy, do you write the content, or do you trust?
Yo, of course. Oh, no. They're not writing. No. Absolutely not. Yeah. The writing of any content is all. No, I don't trust. It's my voice. I gotta have my voice, my stuff, my writing. Definitely not having anyone write that for me. Just the posting, the sending links to friends, the making sure posts at the same time every single day, right? All that kind of stuff that needs to be part of a system. So yeah, now go ahead.
I was just thinking about how your new company is all about like personalization, right?
Yeah.
And not just personalization of like the outreach, but personalization of assets and things like that. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I mean, I assume that's the direction that you see sales going, hence putting the time and energy into building this thing. Talk a little bit about that and why you see it that way, because I have seen something recently where people are sort of saying personalization is a bad word. I don't know, yeah, interesting kind of commentary of late, but I've seen it where it's like personalization feels ick now.
Yeah. And typically personalization is associated with cold email today, right? And so that might be it, because there's a bunch of spam campaigns out there that are saying like, hey, I noticed on your LinkedIn you worked at Google, right? And like, yeah, we're calling that personalization. So it's giving it a bad rap. Where we're going with it is, so when you think about what salespeople send to prospects, personalization 1.0 was all about personalizing the email, right? Which is now like, okay, it gets a bad rap, all that stuff. So that's personalization 1.0. But if you look at like what prospects want today and the buyer journey and all these buzzwords, like when they get a piece of content today, let's call it like a guide on how your product works, how outreach works, right? Now, in the past, what marketing was doing is they put a one-to-many type of white paper on that would say, here's how outreach works. You would send that out to prospects and they would be like, this sounds all like marketing fluff. It doesn't really hit on the problem that I'm specifically having based on my own use case. And so now what we want to do is we want to flip that on its head and say, hey, anytime you send any piece of digital asset, it is personalized to this person, their use cases, any data we have on based on previous conversations. Now, if you look at the data we have to ingest in order to produce this type of content, we look at previous calls, all the transcriptions to those based on the account. We look at emails you have from these people. So how do you ingest all this data and then create something that's personalized for them with the click of a button, utilizing AI, right? That's essentially what we're doing. And now with this GPT thing, it makes it a lot more possible, right? It makes it super and quick to do that because we can now ingest all this data that we have. And so that's where we're going, right? Before, was it possible? No, it was very difficult to scale it, right? Because if you wanted to scale like something like this, you have to manually go look at all this data you have on people, the Salesforce notes, the Gong notes, the this notes, all these notes, and then come up with your own conclusion of how someone could use your product in the how-to guide, right? Well, now you have a machine or a 24/7 assistant that can go in 0.5 seconds, ingest all this data, come up with all its own bullet points, and then say, hey, let's create something that has constraints around it that hits on all their pain points or some things that they've mentioned in the past, right? And so that's what we're trying to do, because it's not rocket science. If something's personalized, truly personalized and associated with some problems that people have mentioned in the past, then guess what? It's probably going to have a higher conversion rate or be more likely to convert, right?
Is it truly personalized if you don't actually know the person personally?
Great question. I guess we should define what the hell is what is personalization, really?
That's fair. Yeah. What is?
Yeah.
So I've been saying this for a long time, that there's a difference between personalization and personalization, right? Even though I don't know Scott, based on his persona, I could create something that's hopefully more personal, but it's not. I don't know Scott yet. Now, again, with all the tools that are out there, they can measure, someone's personality and how do I deliver that message in a way that Scott wants to hear it, right? That might be the closest you're going to get to personalization if I don't know someone. So for me, it feels more like personalization than it does personalization. But there could be a fine line between the two.
Yeah. If I had to define it per se, I would say it's everything in business writing, content HTML. Any piece of content is like, in the business world, problem, solution, right? State the problem, agitate the problem, give a solution. So I think for me, when I think of personalization, it's understanding their problem specifically, not just, hey, do you need more leads? But hey, Johnny, you're at 100 million in revenue, your pipeline is dwindling, and you need more leads, right? So getting more specific with what it is their problem is, and then presenting a solution based on their specific problem. That is the way I look at personalization. So it's almost like problemization. Did I just come up with a new word?
That's a good one. Problemization.
Yeah,
there you go.
Problemization. Yeah, there you go. See, we're making magic in this podcast, guys. Yes, but problemization, that's the way I would define it, right? I mean, do I need to know what, I mean, you go to the forum, like, damn, that's getting real personal. Maybe that's too personal, right? Like, maybe that's true personalization. Who the hell knows? But I think of it as problemization. It is kind of the way we're developing this product and taking those insights that you said and matching stuff based on specificity, right?
So if you've got, what are the type of digital assets that somebody might deploy and therefore personalize? So let's pick on me or Richard. Like, okay, Scott has a couple books. Richard has a newsletter. They've got a podcast. They've got a conference. Like, what are the things that practically people like us would use? And then that will help maybe connect the dots for everybody listening. So, well, how am I going to use this stuff? Like, do I use this on the phone, over email, on LinkedIn? What do I have? Right. So maybe you can use us as a case study.
Yeah. So Scott, like surf and sales, right? Let's do surf and sales. Just because I'm most about this because I surf a lot. So for y'all,
Honey, never been.
But what's that?
But you don't come enough.
I know.
I'm getting it out because you've never come before.
I know. I need to come. Honestly, I did look at the dates for this one, and I will be in Mexico because it's around Thanksgiving, I believe, and we're gonna be in South. My wife booked somewhere like a year ago. I forget the name. I tried this year, y'all. Confession, I did try this year. But the wife runs the schedules, so I'm just happy wife, right? Anyway,
you've over-delegated, Andy. You've over-delegated.
I know, right? So looking at that, Surf and Sales, what's your objective? Your objective is to get people to buy a ticket to Surf and Sales, sign up, pay the, what is it, $2,000 right now, $3,000, or whatever, $2,000, right? So when you look at the different items that you can create for that, one thing that you can create is, and this is going to be super simple, an itinerary for what does the 4 days at Surf and Sales look like? What is, besides surfing, because that's in the name, right? Who's going to be within that and the itinerary for it, right? How do you create a super fancy itinerary that you can send to people? And then once they're looking at it, how do you capture them to take the next step with the soft CTA, right? You give someone a piece of content, they look at the itinerary, they go, holy shit, this is great. I would love to see Josh Braun give a presentation on this Apple thing. What if in that moment that they're engaged on that piece, they get a soft CTA that's like, hey, $100 off your Surf and Sale, give us your email to click here and we'll send that to you now, right? Or $500 off, right? So you give them an incentive. It's essentially a lead magnet, right? And so that is something you can personalize a conversion on without having to go use Marketo or some crazy ass marketing tool that's super hard to put together all the pieces, right? We're going to give you that simple marketing piece there. And so you can send that to your email list. They can look at the itinerary. They can see it. Oh, shoot. And if I want to join, I can click here to join and basically give you your email. Then on the back end, that email gets pushed to your newsletter, right? Something like that. Or they get an email with the $100 coupon automatically. That's just one example of something you can do, right? From a B2B standpoint, think of that, being able to do stuff like that at scale. So checklist on what you should think about before buying our product. Ultimate guides, right? Guides on why you should use sales engagement now more than ever. Cheat sheets, guides, mini course, right? On specifically, hey, if you don't think you need to know how to surf before you need to know how to surf before Surf and Sales, here's a mini video of the only exercise you need to practice before coming. And it's a mini video. like mini course video on Ethereum, doing a pop-up, right? So there's all these different assets that when you're in a deal cycle or trying to get someone's attention, right? It's not necessarily what you say in the cold email that gets them to respond. It's a guide or an asset of some kind that educates them, that then they say, oh yeah, this looks cool. Because if someone sends me a cold email, I don't just look at their email. I go look at the company. I go look up a resource around the company. Then I decide, hey, I learned something here and I actually think this can help. And so that is essentially what we're building. It's all of those guides around. So all of those, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I want to repeat that. You get in, and then if you're interested, what do you do? Because I think this is something people don't think about.
Yeah.
What do you do? You go and you look where?
You look at their domain and you probably say, what the hell is this company? And then you go look up the company. Right. And then you look up reviews of the company, go on maybe G2 Crowd. Then you go on Twitter and look at this. Then you go to the founder's LinkedIn, or on LinkedIn, you see who's connected to who at the company. And you're basically trying to learn, like, what is this company all about? Do people use them? What do they actually help people do? Because their landing page of the website, you don't, right. Most marketing pages you don't understand. Going back to the problem, you're like, okay, great looking page, but what the hell do they do? So you go and look at all these resources. And so all these resources that you then start looking at on their blog or whatever, who creates those typically? Marketers, right? And you read all these blog posts and resources and you're still like, holy crap, I can't understand what this product still does. But now what if you searched, and when you search this stuff, you had pages that were indexed on Google on the product that a sales rep made on how the product worked.
Yeah.
Imagine that. That's what we're doing. So all these guides and stuff that we're going to give you templates for that you can put in your own personalization, right? You can either personalize them as deep as an account, right? And like if you're targeting something specific and it's more private, or just in general, if you want to make a page on, hey, here's how our product works, I want to index this on Google. So when someone searches this, they go to my personal page as Andrew and they want to work with me as a rep. Although that might not be the case because account-based stuff, but you guys get the idea.
Yeah, totally get it. And that's the part I wanted people to hear was one click begets the next click, begets the next. Once someone's engaged, right?
Yes.
Not like I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. If you got an email, all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take that meeting. How often does that happen versus how often do they check out the LinkedIn profile before they take the meeting or something like that, right? Because it has multiple touches. And so in some ways it's kind of like, I don't know what the latest number is. It's 16 touches to set a meeting or whatever it is, right? I'm curious if anybody's ever thought about, well, gosh, maybe it takes us 12 touches, but the other 4 are them poking around that we don't know about, right? And that you could ever track that. Maybe is on your website, right? Don't know what other places they go. So interesting. I'm glad you brought it up because I think it's the way you described it is what I believe marketing does and is intending to do. And it can go deeper now because we can get better content. And it resonated a little bit more from a sales mindset, or at least from my mindset. So I appreciate you sharing that. So
yeah. And I'll give you kind of a catalyst for this as well. And one of the catalysts that I had for building this was, if you look at like outreach in the past, and this is maybe stuff that I shouldn't say, but I don't think it's that private. Some of our best performing content pieces that we ran paid ads against, those 2 content pieces were pieces that were written by people on the front lines. How to use outreach in like some other one that was like around how to be SDR and whatever, something like that. But the 2 people that wrote those were actually SDR managers. And it goes back to, okay, who understands the customer the most? The people on the front floor. Who can speak to them the best? The people in the front of the line. So how do you now give them the platform or the tools in order to push them to create this content that actually converts, right? Because their thesis is like their content is going to perform 10 times better than marketing's content because they know how to speak to the customer, they know how to reference the customer and what the customers actually care about. And so how do we leverage that, right? And how do we get them to create more of this content that can get indexed, that can be shared, that can then lead to conversions and getting meetings. So that was just a great example for me. That was like, there's another kind of validation, right? Of why these people now should be in the driver's seat of creating the content that converts. And now with AI, it makes it a lot easier. Is AI perfect? Hell no, right? Coming from someone that built an AI-based company with all this stuff, it's not perfect yet. But is it helpful, and does it make you feel more confident in doing all this? Hell yeah, it does, right? And that's the goal, right? It's not going to remove the thinking. The thinking will never be removed. The initial hump of writing something and what should be said will be executed, but then the thinking behind that, oh, maybe I know them, so I shouldn't say it like this. It sounds fluffy, blah, 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 blah. That's what the thinking's for.
All right, yeah. Stop, because you'll keep going, Andy. I have to interrupt.
Yeah. Please.
But yeah. I'm gonna pose the question so you can think about it, and for Scott as well, and then I'm gonna go and give our promotion to our friends over at HubSpot. Does this mean, based on the way you described it, that the SDR role now really becomes a true MDR role, right? So don't answer that yet, because if the SDR can get replaced by the bot, but we need this personalization, there's still this human piece that you said that's written by somebody. So anyway, that's the question. But before we get to your answers, want to again thanks HubSpot Podcast Network, HubSpot YouTube Network for putting this one there. And if you haven't checked it out, definitely check out the Business Made Simple podcast that is also on the HubSpot Podcast Network by Donald Miller. And it's interesting because one of the episodes is the best practices for hiring and using a virtual assistant. So, God,
look at that. We better go listen to that one.
It might be the first podcast that God ever listens to, aside from ours. And in this episode, Donald talks with CEO of Belay, Trisha Sciortino, I hope I said that right, about best practices for hiring and using a VA. They can help you handle the tasks such as scheduling correspondence, meetings, and note-taking and follow-up, but a lot more than that too. And you can actually get your time back to focus on the stuff that you want. So anyway, so please, if you've never had a VA, which I do, go check out this podcast with Donald Miller called Business Made Simple. All right. What are your answers? Is the SDR role morphing to an MDR? Andy, 30 seconds.
Oof. Short answer, I don't know. Short answer is no. And we can go into what.
Okay, he says, hold on, we'll come back to why. Scott, yes or no?
Yeah.
What is an MDR role?
Well, come on, stop.
What does it mean? Is that market development rep?
Yes.
See, I'm just very confused by all of these.
Oh, you're not.
Just NDR, BDR, MDR, XDR. Here's what I think. I think the answer is no, because I think that all of those roles are going to die. That's what I think.
All right. Andy, what do you think? So you say no for one reason. Are they going to die? Or, and I'm going off the premise you put out there that we need content written by the people.
Yeah. No, because it's not going to remove look, the AI is great at doing execution, but you still need to train the AI on how to think, right?
Yeah, but we're a year away from that. How long does it take my MDRs to do that? My BDRs?
Yeah. Well, with how fast things change in the market, right? Like, let me give you an example. I think MDRs, if you look at what MDRs today, the whole goal of MDRs in the seat, right? You get an inbound lead, you get as quickly as possible, saying the right things, get them on the calendar, right? Because they're at that case, people are solution aware and product aware in terms of the awareness funnel, whatever you want to call it, right? They know your solution. You want to get them quick, give them a good experience at that point. That's when their good experience starts. The SDR, sure, speed is one component, but the SDR is a little more strategy involved, which requires more thinking, right? And what I mean by that is, if you look at an SDR role, are they just typically throwing 1,000 people in a sequence and writing personalized emails? No. Hopefully if they're good and they were trained well, they're hopefully just doing that. Yeah, hopefully hopefully. What the great SDRs are doing is they're being more strategic around their approach. Okay, let me look at one account. In this account, I need to get these 5 people because they check these X boxes, right? Or they know this person who knows that person. That's something that maybe AI at some point will be able to wrap their head around. The connection, close connections are, recommend some, someone you should reach out to based on the connections. But you're still going to want to spot check that even if AI gets to that point, right? And so there's thinking behind it that AI cannot yet be like, oh, Johnny knows Scott, so maybe I should go to Scott and ask for an intro and then actually send the intro email, right? Because guess what? Doing those checkboxes, AI, AutoGP could probably do it today, but you don't want it to do automatically because it could be completely wrong and make you look like an idiot if you did that. And Scott wasn't actually close to this Johnny guy that you wanted an intro to, right? So that's why my answer is no, right? Like, I think MDRs are all about speed. SDRs, strategy, which is thinking. And so I think it's going to be hard for AI to take over that thinking piece.
I don't think it's going to be hard. I don't think.
Why not?
Well, just because I believe that we underestimate how fast the sort of momentum or growth or intelligence of AI is going to be. But I actually think the answer is no, because I think that the whole entire XDR, whatever DR function you want to call it, I think it's going to go away. And I think what you're going to have is very capital conscious founders and VCs who are not interested in throwing money at a problem with bodies like this because it doesn't scale. It's just not capital efficient anymore. You're going to, instead of these like 20-person sales orgs or 50, 100-person sales orgs, you're going to have this like Navy SEALs Team 6. And it's going to be really strong account executives who run the full cycle, who are able to like write the prompts, funnel those responses, get those people onto, meetings and close the deal. I think it's going to go back to the ways that it used to be when I was first a salesperson, which was a full cycle seller. I just will be aided by whatever stage of progress the AI is in. I don't think that we're going to have people whose specific role is to like write prompts or surface research, all that. It's going to be like, that shit should take 2.5 seconds, Mr. Andy, as an AE. Punch something into ChatGPT 47, right? It's like,
yeah,
Richard Harris is my prospect. Figure out what's going on in his life, what his pain point is right now, and make sure I get an appointment with him. And how is that one person's role that's going to get paid $60,000 a year and that's all they do? That's not capital efficiency. I don't think that anymore.
Yeah. Well, one thing I think about,
all these tools can raise their prices, right? You can charge I can charge you $30,000 for that tool a year.
Good.
Right?
They'll be more capital efficient than hiring SDRs.
Yep.
Yeah. I think when we think about that, and I thought about this before, is one thing in there was that like if I could have a team of 5 people over 50 people and get the same output, hell yeah, like what company wouldn't want to do that, right? Here's the but how hard is it to find an amazing Navy SEAL AE, right? It is very difficult. So in that assumption, what we haven't thought about is the margin of error, meaning how do we ensure that those 5 people are the Navy SEAL people and that I can specifically hire them, right? And if I could get 5 people over 50, hell yeah, I would do it. I would pay them each 3 times more and you would still get a better output than the 50, right? But the problem, because we're involving people in the equation, not everyone is going to be able to have the Navy SEAL mentality work in that way. So we need to account for that almost with more people, right? It is kind of the way I look at it. And so that is why I never think these roles will be replaced per se. There will be less people in them, and there always could be even less people if each of your ballers could use all these tools to maximum potential. But unfortunately, because we're human, and I was a salesperson, like sometimes we have so much shit to do, it's hard to know how to use all the tools, right? Could we potentially learn them all? That's the thing that we have to kind of account for, which is like that, hey, all these people can't be rock stars like you and Richard and these top performing reps, that quite frankly, a top performing rep, I think, can do the work of 10 mediocre reps, right? Based on what I've seen, 100%.
Scott, that's where all these training HR places are going to be like, we should go and create sales team 6, right? Where we come in and
there you go, dude.
Yeah, like it's like Don Reddy from that movie when he brings in his auto sales guys and goes from one dealership to the
yeah.
I honestly think this is an opportunity. I'm not kidding. If you could like train sales reps and have like a boot camp, there's these coding boot camps, but you could take people that are even AEs and make them super AEs, and 96% that come out of that you can prove are as valuable as 10 AEs in your art because they know how to use all this shit. Hell yeah, I would pay a shit ton of money for that personally. Right?
That is the issue, because it's interesting. As a startup, it's harder to find them. If I've got a team of 20, it all of a sudden becomes, it becomes, who's got the conch, right? Who's got the conch shell? It becomes Lord of the Flies, because I'm going to trim that team down from 20 to 5. And they better get on board, right? Which is not a fun thing to do. I don't say that, let's do it. Like, these are people's lives and humans, and they have families, and they need to live. So I do think it's coming, though. And it doesn't mean I don't want to talk about it. We just have to decide how we're going to deal with it.
Yeah.
With the salesperson. So, Andy, that's the part where we turn it over to you. What questions you got for us?
Man, tell me what I'm missing out on in surfing sales, dude. What am I missing out on? Because I can't go this year. Wife's got the vacation. Give us a little preview.
A virtual assistant. Scott just got a virtual assistant to create the itinerary. We just wrote the side of the right? Really connect.
Yes, love it. Moving fast.
My first version is the community. Like, what do you miss? The three of us have this great network among us, right? We talk to each other. We take the calls. We'll take the texts. You're in town. I'm in town. We'll get together, right?
Yeah.
You get to build those relationships in 4 days with people who you'd never get to spend them with before, right? In some other role, some level of capacity, you might spend time with someone who's a brand new SDR and want to spip, and they're coming and they don't know anything about their sales career. So here's a great chance for them to learn from Andy, and for you to give something back, and then for you to hear from somebody who's on the front lines, because it's changed, right? Ask, how are they seeing AI? Maybe that turns into, because you're building your own new company, maybe that turns into the first person you hire as you start to go to market. Because now you spend days interviewing them. Like, that's a piece that people don't get. And they become these lifelong bonds, like in all the other communities. This one's different though, because it's international. It's that's one of the things you'll miss. One, 2, the ability to, if you want to surf, you can. You don't have to.
There you go.
There's a lot of I'm like a forever beginner, so like I'm always out there with the lessons, opposed to Scott and Jeff, the other 2 co-founders. So that's a great piece that gives you a chance to push yourself. The other piece that I would say are the challenges. Like, let's say you came, we do this thing called a beach challenge, and Andy we'll take the team and we'll divide it into 2 groups. And Andy, you get to spend 15 minutes explaining your company and what you're trying to accomplish. And each team gets 10 minutes to ask you questions all in front of each other. And then the team's break, and for 45 minutes, they have to go create their advice, like a consulting group. And they come back at sunset on the beach, and you get the advice. And it's this great way for you to get 18 people's advice on how to run your business, who have totally different perspectives, who have no loyalty to you, who have no real relationship with you. So you just get real honest feedback about what you could do with your business. So that's the kind of stuff that I think you miss that you don't get in other places. It's interactive and emotional that way. I'll shut up.
Sounds like some group therapy, which I think is great for people, especially like people building companies and people working solo, account execs working solo, hitting under billing at your working solo sometimes, which is amazing. And now I have a question for Scott, because I know he's gonna give us his real thoughts. What's your thoughts on this Gong release from last week? I mean,
oh my goodness. I understand strategically, I guess, why they're trying to roll it out and kind of be everything to everyone and try to capture all of the market share that the sales loss and outreach and other enablement sequencer tools have. It seems like maybe the moment passed where one of those tools could have bought Gong. Gong's probably not big enough to buy one of them. But my bigger thing is like, why are we still going to write email sequences?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because like, I don't respond to emails unless I recognize the name of the person sending me an email, because my inbox is full of junk and full of messages, hundreds of messages a day. And I don't even live there anymore. I live in Slack half the time. So we're asking people to behave in a way that they used to behave 10 plus years ago, still moving forward. And I think it's going to go farther away from how we used to behave, right? So, okay, maybe it's not just email. We're going to build a sequence and there's phone calls. Nobody picks up the fucking phone anymore. Pickup rates on cold calls are lower than they've ever been. Yeah. My ringer is off 24/7. My call ID can tell me exactly who's calling you. If I don't recognize the number and your name's not in my phone, I'm not answering. So I'm just sort of like, what are we doing? Like, capture this, but this thing is in the beginning of a death spiral, I think. So I don't really get it.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about it?
I think Udi or whoever's is a genius. I think they did a great from a marketing perspective, right? Actually, message Udi. And disclaimer, I was early at outreach. I'm a big outreach investor per se, shares, blah blah, whatever. But I still commend them because Udi, I was like, dude, that was touche. That was a great job. From a marketing perspective, and what I mean by that is like, look at what they did. They created an enemy. Right, and which was the archaic sales engagement solution. So they kind of put themselves above on a pedestal, right? They created an enemy in that way, which was amazing. They put themselves in the same category versus trying to create their new category. Now, if you saw that was very interesting, right? Because everyone's like, create a category, and like it's this category creation. They're like, as a genius marketers, I said, no, we're going to put ourselves in the same playing field, which I thought was amazing. It shows that how big the category potentially can be, right? So just super smart move. And then they also leveraged influencers, within there with the templates and stuff, which I thought was for credibility in social proof, which I thought was also a super good play that you can see from B2B companies these days. So just in general, I think, from a marketing perspective, amazing job. It was like people should look at reverse engineer that. I tried to do a little by newsletter today, just high level, but reverse engineer and take notes because the way they did it was just great. Now, from a product, I've never seen the product. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how well I never used it in terms of the new AI stuff they had. So the question now is can their product fulfill the dream that they promised, right? And all the sales engagement when you get out of it. I don't know. But
is there a market for the product even?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah. I see it as, again, taking that next step towards whatever the next step is after that, right? Like it's a good step. It's not a small thing, but it's the next release because there's going to be, I I don't know this. I've not talked to anybody. I have no vested interest, share, advisory, nothing.
Yeah.
More coming. There's got to be. And I think that's for every one of these engagement platforms, right? They're all figuring out how to get there. And, that's the piece that I wonder. And part of what I also think they're doing wisely is they're doing things to just keep getting more and more content from their users to better fuel and build their next part of the product. That's that, right? Which is what I think a lot of them do. I mean, Gong's been doing that forever in terms of, we've aggregated this information and here's how often and when you should bring up the word price, or you should use a curse word. Like they aggregate that information. Now the question is, how do I turn that into an AI platform, and how do I get more communications around the email side? And I think their focus on the email side might be because they focus so heavily on the conversation side first, right? Like that was the first piece. So this is their way to, I wouldn't say, I guess catch up a little bit, but they did it in a really good way, to your point, Andy. Like how they reverse engineered that piece and made it a big deal.
Yeah. This is what should, subtle plug. That's why I'm building distribute. I want to play with all of them. I'm going to take all their data and then I'm going to make pages based on that, right? That's the goal. But yeah.
Keep us posted on the project. When is it distribute expected to go live?
Oh man, this is where this is the tough question. I don't want to say it yet
because products are never released on name now.
They weren't going to pick a name earlier.
Yeah, if I'm in all enterprise name next week. No, but no, really, what I'm shooting for, and that would only tell this is the end of July. So that's what I'm shooting for. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. We'll be excited to support you and distribute. Look at it.
Here's the answer, Andy. The answer is actually sooner than most people think, and we say that so that you get acquired before it even comes out.
It's already been acquired.
Yeah. Before the podcast. Yes. Yeah. Whoever's listening right now. Richard's taker here. Great stuff. Richard, Scott, always a pleasure to be on, man. Let's do it again.
Always happy to be here.
Yeah. Talk to you soon, guys. See you later, guys. Have a good one.
The recording has stopped.
That was good.
It's always good when
we don't have to talk.
Yeah, we don't even talk that much.
Yeah, I've got like 2 hours of work around all these podcasts to get them set up. So go enjoy yourself. Fuckface.
I have to go to physical therapy right now. So.
Yeah. Oh, this isn't even today. I still have a 3-hour training session to do.
Both. But luckily, it's still the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I'll see you later.